Have you ever stood on the edge of your own world, watching everything you built teeter on the brink, powerless to stop it? That was Mewell. That was Ethan Prescott looking out over a city that glittered beneath the glass towers of Prescott Global, while inside those same walls my whole life was crashing down. You know what I mean. The stock price was in free fall, red numbers bleeding across the monitors, and all the powerful people I use to trust were whispering, plotting, their faces pale as the numbers kept tumbling. 2 more points, my CFO said, and the banks would pull the plug. Boom, it'd be over. The empire my grandfather started just gone, and while everyone else was running around clutching spreadsheets and yelling into their phones, it was a quiet, almost invisible sound that changed everything. The soft scrape of a broom on polished marble in the hallway, and the person behind it, Maya Johnson, the janitor. Yeah, you heard that right, a janitor, but don't get ahead of yourself. Maya had been cleaning up after people like me for years, going unnoticed, except she noticed everything in fidelity and papers left out, weird meetings at night, phone calls that stopped the second she walked by. One night, she found a flash drive buried under a stack of trash in a storage room no one ever used. I mean, who would think to look there, right? Plugged it into her old laptop at home, nothing fancy, just a battered machine, and there it was. Evidence of money vanishing out the back door of Prescott Global, siphoned through shell companies and secret accounts. Now, most people in Maya's shoes would have shrugged and kept their heads down, but she saw what was happening. She knew what it would mean for all the people whose lives depended on their jobs at Prescott, and she couldn't stay quiet. I still remember the day she walked into my office. At first, I barely noticed. Like most folks in my world, I took people like Maya for granted, if I even saw them at all. But she put the flash drive on my desk and started talking, and there was something in her voice, steady, honest, that made me listen, even though my gut reaction was to distrust, to suspect some scam. Why would I lie? She said, and I couldn't answer her. So we sat there, this unlikely pair, a desperate CEO, and her, a janitor nobody thought twice about, poring over numbers, following digital trails, and slowly piecing together the story of who was gutting my family's legacy from the inside out. Let me back up a sec. There's this thing about power once you've got it. You start thinking you're untouchable. You trust the people in your circle. You believe you'd spot a traitor a mile away. But the truth is, betrayal always comes from the places you least expect. As Maya and I dug deeper, the threats started rolling in cryptic texts, late-night warnings, even subtle little gestures at board meetings where the air felt thick with suspicion. My own CFO, Rachel, told me to be careful, because whoever was doing this had allies, and if we went public before we had enough proof, it could bring the whole house down on our heads. But Maya was fearless, had nothing to lose, she said, and everything to gain for everyone else. She found coded emails, offshore accounts, payrolls that didn't add up. It was like peeling back layer after layer until finally a name appeared: Vincent Caldwell. Vincent was an old hand, a mentor, even a guy who'd been at my side through the roughest patches of the company's history. If you'd told me a year ago that he'd be the one bleeding us dry, I would have laughed in your face. But there it was. Video footage, late-night meetings in the garage, briefcases passing hands. He'd been orchestrating the whole thing, feeding himself and his partners at the expense of everyone else. When I confronted him in the boardroom, with Maya by my side, Vincent sneered, called it a witch hunt, threatened lawsuits. The board exploded, alliances shattered, and for a second I thought maybe I'd lost them all. But Maya, who'd always been in the background, stepped forward and laid out the evidence so clear, so calm, that even the most loyal of Vincent's friends had to back down. There was this moment, man, I'll never forget it, when the whole room went silent. Everyone just staring at her, this woman no one ever saw, now the only one who could save us. And let me tell you, the fallout was messy. Vincent had powerful friends, and I got threats, warnings, you name it. There were nights I wonder if maybe I should have just let it go, swept it all under the rug, because rebuilding after a betrayal like that isn't easy. Every relationship feels poisoned for a while. Every handshake makes you wonder who's got a knife behind their back. But Maya never let me quit, kept saying the truth has to come out, Ethan, no matter what. And she was right. Sometimes the only way to heal is to tear the wound open, clean out the rot, and let the light in. After Vincent was ousted, there were lawsuits, media firestorms, all the drama you'd expect. But slowly, Prescott Global started to stitch itself back together. I made it a point to walk every floor of the company, to meet people I'd only known as names on a payroll, to thank them for sticking by us. And when I called the first all-hands meeting after the storm, I stood up in front of everyone and made it clear, Maya Johnson saved this company. She proved you don't need a fancy title to make a difference, just the guts to stand up when it counts. People cheered, and for a moment I saw something shift in the room, like a wall came down between the boardroom and the janitor's closet. Maya was offered a spot on the new ethics committee, and let me tell you, she brought a kind of wisdom none of us had ever bothered to see before. Our relationship grew into something deeper, grounded in trust that had been forged in the fires of near destruction. I never expected it, but I found myself leaning on her, not just for advice, but for hope. One night, after a long day, I told her, "You've changed my world, Maya." She just smiled and said, "You gave me hope, too." Yeah, that happened. So here's the thing, what would you do if someone you trusted betrayed you? Would you risk everything to bring the truth out, even if it meant losing more first? And have you ever underestimated someone, only to realize they had the strength and integrity to change your life? I want to hear your story. See if this hit home. Drop a 100 in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. Let's talk about what real courage and justice look like, and maybe remind each other that sometimes the smallest voice in the room turns out to be the loudest when it matters most.